Oh, righty. So I'm looking on the Twitter.com here. Take it with a grain of salt. Like I say, oh, Twitter's crap. It's a crap hole. Oh, it's evil. It's evil incarnate. Ah! And it's just like I'm not going to sit here and disagree with you. But guess what? If you want reasonable news that it's not just spurgy nonsense or just some crackpot sitting in his basement, like Pole or something like that, where people are trolling and simping and everything else, you know, you can just smell the jizz in the room. But it's like, apparently the guy with the buffalo head who was trying to look like a Native American, obviously a pagan because he had the little Thor's hammer thing. Apparently that guy was an actor. Apparently he was like an actor of some sort, saying, well, the pedophiles and blah, 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 the guy who was screaming, the one that was up there and that had the American face paint. Apparently he was an actor. So, of course, this leads to the idea, well, this whole thing was a psyop, and everything else. Oh, don't join any movements because you don't want to be a part of it. It's like, I don't completely disagree with that. I don't completely disagree with that idea. But at this point, everything is a fucking psyop. And you can either choose to be scared and choose to be on alarm all the time, as what conspiracy theorists want you to be. That's my view of them. They want you to be scared so that you can continue to give them money and all that so they can continue to live their, mid-wit sort of lives and live their sort of middle-class lives in Japan or whatever it is, live their middle-class dreams by, giving the same old bullshit answers and, simping for libertarianism or whatever the fuck it is. And, keeping people afraid so that they can continue to give them money. The thing is, I'm older. And I'll have my moments where I'm afraid or that I'm upset and I'm not sure what's going to happen next. But at this point, I don't give a fuck. I think that can pretty much, I can pretty much just say how I feel about things in general. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'll play along and ultimately I'll keep my mouth shut because I'll just be a good little follower. But with a lot of this whole, well, it was a psyop, bro. It's like, well, everything's a fucking psyop then. Just say it's a fucking psyop and we'll, just accept it, It's the same thing I was kind of alluding to with like, working at a restaurant and just cleaning or something like that. It's like, you realize that everybody's going to fucking do that, right? You're just going to sit there and be a good boy and clean the tables and all you're going to get is an attaboy from the boss, or whichever ceremony. It's just like, it's all a fucking psyop. But it's like, that's kind of how society is. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I've finally reached a lot of the end pills already by the time now I'm 35. It's like, but it's all a fucking psyop. It's like the fact that you are taught the Pledge of Allegiance is a psyop, or it's all a fucking psyop. I've just admitted that, and you can just say, like I say, I always welcome the haters and everything else. I welcome them in and say, okay, well, if that's what you believe, all right. But that's how I feel. But, in addition, though, people are saying, and once again, Logo Daedalus, once again, this is one of the takes I don't agree with him on, where he's like, well, the U.S. is going to rot, and you should find asylum in another country. This I don't believe with. This is 100% I don't believe in. I 100% do not believe this. I saw this from that ML guy who really shills for China. I can't think of that dude's his handle offhand. Like San Diego lawyer. I can't think of that dude's name. It doesn't matter to me. You can go ahead and type it in the comments anyway. The guy who covers his face and I use a fancy recorder so that I can hide my voice. That guy. Anyway, but apparently he was like, how hard is it to get asylum in China? It's like maybe easier because you're a lawyer, so you may have some usefulness. But it's like in general, most of the motherfuckers in this country are fucking useless here. So why do you think you'd be useful being in another country? This is, one of the things about people like Joe Dresnock I hate. That nigga was useless. He was. Joe Dresnock was a useless sack of shit. He was barely any use in the U.S. Army or when he was living in the U.S. He was living in a foster home and he had trouble with his parents and whatnot. Story of a lot, millions of Americans' lives. It's like, that's nothing new. It's like you can find, it's like, find someone with, family troubles or, it's like, that's easy to find, but it's like, that nigga was useless. That nigga could barely speak English and he could barely, teach English when he was in the DPRK. They actually made this nigga an English sheet. That's hilarious to me. And like I say, if you find out about English teachers in these, foreign countries like Japan and China, you'll realize what type of bullshit jobs they have and how you're really just you're just lower than whale dumb, But because you want to live in a foreign country because you're either a horny nigga or you feel like, I don't know. But anyway, it's just fucking stupid. I am one for the idea that at this point in human existence, stay where the fuck you are. Cosmopolitanism is not cute. Cosmopolitanism is not a great ideology. I can just tell you that. This idea where it's like, well, I'm gonna go, hobnob around France. Ugh. No, France is, France is erupting in turmoil just as much as the United States is. They are slightly more effective, though. And it's like, I think that COVID has really shown that, yeah, cosmopolitanism is a bullshit idea. It's the idea of basically just saying is that we're going to get a piece of your culture, and we're going to take your culture out of context. But we've seen enough of at least the 20th century of all these folks who hobnobbed around the world, and oh yes, well I got to go to the lands of Borneo and all that business. It's like we've seen that there is nothing good that comes from cosmopolitanism, and this idea where it's like some horny ass American or some American who wants to rebel against the United States or whatever. I love China. I love everything about it. No. Shut the fuck up. You're an American. You're always going to be a fucking American. So I was talking about with Dark Synovia. Bruh, you can claim to be Irish all you fucking want to. You're never going to be Irish. You were born and raised in this country. You're made of mystery meat the same as every other white person. You are not pure white. Stop it. Stop it. Just stop. I'm sorry to get angry, but it makes me upset because like, I don't care how bad the United States gets. And I know it's going to get bad. I know it will in terms of everything else is going to happen. But there are going to be lighter moments in there. And I'm going to try to enjoy those moments as much as I can. But this is the only country I know. This is a country that created me and made me who I am. Good, bad, right, or wrong. This is a country. So when you LARP, if you're some dumb white American who's like, well, actually, my family's from County Cork. Biggin, you didn't grow up in County Cork in Ireland, okay? You were raised in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or wherever the fuck it is. You were raised in, I don't know, New Braunfels, Texas. You're not German. They don't want you. They will never see you as one of them. They will never see you that way. Never. I'll repeat again. This is why, like I say, why would I want to go to another country? Number one, even if I had the fucking money, number one, because I'm broke as a joke. I always have been. But I've always had things paid off, or at least I've, had a plan to pay things off. So at least there's that. But that's typical of Americans once again. But it's like, bruh, it's like if you're an outcast in this country And if you're somebody who, you can't even talk to girls here in this country, what makes you think that you're going to be so much better in another country? Is it that much different? I don't think it is, my nigga. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it is. I don't know. I'm sorry for using the N word, but it's like sometimes it just comes out. I'm like, yo, this is some bullshit. And somebody's got to tell these motherfuckers. Somebody's got to tell these motherfuckers, like, no. You're an American. And I don't care how depressed you are and everything else. I really don't believe that you're going to be less depressed than somewhere else. And it's the same thing. It's like if you make $1 billion or something like that, you're still going to be the same person. This is some good advice I heard when I was in Army basic training for the United States Army, 2005. Drill Sergeant Horsey. He's now retired. He still lives in I'll just say Lawton, Oklahoma, I believe. He's a sergeant first class. Very tall brother. But Drill Sergeant Horsey said this, is that, after basic training, you're still going to be the same person you came in to this thing. And it's true. You can claim that, the U.S. Army brainwashes people, or you're still going to be the same motherfucker that you always were. And it doesn't matter if you have $1 in your pocket or if you have 10,000. It does not make a difference. You are still the same person. It's the same thing if you go to another country. You are still the same motherfucker. It's like if you feel awkward in this country because you don't like sports or something like that, bruh, you're going to be awkward as fuck if you go to China or if you go to Denmark or wherever it is in the world that you feel the need to. So claiming asylum because I don't like it in America because the capital was attacked. Look, I'm just going to finally admit it. It was a fucking psyop. It was hilarious. It was funny as fuck. And it was a temporary, and it made it seem so much lighter. All right. At this point, I'll just finally just say to myself, it's all a fucking psyop, and I don't care. But that's the point that I'm at. It's all a psyop. It's all scripted. It's all, we all live in we all live in a scripted world. We all live in that crappy Jim Carrey movie. What is it? The Truman Show. The whole world is a Truman Show, and I've just accepted it at this point. It's all a Truman Show, and it doesn't matter. Maybe that's the point that I've come to. But it's like, maybe you need to make happiness as you see it, Maybe you hear a song that you liked when growing up. It's like, oh, that's why I'll turn on those old hip-hop songs. As much as I don't agree with them, I don't really listen to Eminem that much anymore because he is cringe now. But even what the shit that he was saying back then and on Marshall Mathers LP back from 1999 or 2000 is a little too much. It's like I still can't listen to songs like Kim where he's talking about bleed, bitch, bleed. It's like, no, that goes too far. But anyway, find happiness where you can. And stop giving a shit about, all this sort of things. Like, I'm still going to talk about politics because that's what I've made this brand on. But it's like, I'm always going to be this. I'm always going to be this, man. And it's like, for the most part, I try to keep my mouth shut and I'm a quiet dude overall. It's just, I'd rather get my thoughts out on here until they kick me off or whatever. Who knows? But I'm always going to feel this way. Even if there wasn't a camera in front of me or if there wasn't a microphone on my laptop here, I would like to think anyway. I'd like to think I still hold the same views that I do. And I think I'm fairly receptive. If I see that I was wrong about something, I'll be like, yeah, I took an L on that. So, I don't know. Take it for what it is. I hope you'll enjoy this video. This is like me coming down off the high. Yesterday it was just, I was just laughing. I think it was for real. I was just like, it was just so funny to see that they had, Pelosi's name plate and they had, right in front of Pelosi's computer and everything. I saw the screenshots that people did, of what was on Pelosi's computer. It was hilarious. It was great for memes. It was great. And I don't care if it was a psyop. I don't care if it wasn't effective at this point. Because you know what? None of it's going to be effective. It's like, this is my last point that I wanted to bring up, but it's like a lot of the time these things are going to change anyway, and that the resistance to it is impotent, and it was never going to do anything anyway. Same thing where it's like, I don't like how Elvis is shaking his hips, and we're going to hold on to that. We're not going to care for that. It was impotent because guess what? Elvis was still somebody that people liked, or the resisting the British invasion, or transgenderism, or whatever it is. That is like, to a point, it was completely impotent, and there was no power behind it. Nobody was going to try to stop it because people had already been manipulated to believe that, or they just wanted to go with the status quo. People still wanted to have a job. Whatever feijoa is out there, that's what occurred. And it's like, it's just standard shit. But guess what? It made people feel like something was going to happen. And now we're going to see Joe Biden get in, and we're going to laugh and make jokes about him and all the dumb shit he's going to say, because we can tell, even with that pitiful, empty, toothless speech that he gave yesterday, same as Donald Trump, empty, toothless speech. We want peace. Don't do this. Stop. Don't do it. It meant nothing. But you know what? Everyone's got to have their little bubble where they can stay sane. And that's as good as it's going to get. Anyway, sorry for I almost want to cry. But I know it's not going to do any good in this case. Yeah, that's all I got. I hope y'all enjoyed that. See you later. Have a good one, folks. Goodbye.